So, what's the deal with JavaScript? You hear the term constantly, right? It pretty much powers the entire modern web. But what is it, really? Okay, let's get into it and unpack the story of the language that honestly brought the internet to life. To really get why JavaScript was such a game changer, you've got to go back in time. Picture the early web. Web pages were basically digital documents, kind of like a magazine page on a screen. You could read stuff, look at pictures, and that's about it. No interaction, no animations, nothing reacting to you. They were just there, totally static. And then, boom, everything changed. This new technology showed up with a simple but revolutionary mission to make web pages alive. That technology, of course, was JavaScript, and it's what turned the internet from a static library into the dynamic, interactive world we use every single day. So let's talk about that original mission. The programs written in JavaScript, well, they're called scripts, and their whole job was to run right inside a web page, giving it the power to change things, react to clicks, and respond to you, the user, in real time. And you know, what's really cool about this is how simple it is. A script isn't some super complex program you have to compile. Nope, it's just plain text, written right into the web page's code. This makes it incredibly easy to get started with, a totally different world from a language like Java, which has a much more complicated setup. Wait a second, if it's so different from Java, why on earth is it called JavaScript? Well, that's a funny story, and it brings us to its kind of accidental name, which actually started out as something completely different: LiveScript. So here's the deal. Back in 1995, Java was the hottest new thing in programming. Everybody was talking about it. So the folks behind this LiveScript made a pure marketing call. They changed the name to JavaScript to try and position it as Java's younger brother, hoping to catch some of that hype. And hey, it worked. But today, it's a completely independent language with its own official standard, and it has absolutely zero to do with Java, technically. Okay, so we know what it is and how it got its weird name, but how does a simple text file in a browser actually do stuff, like make things move or change? For that, we've got to look inside what's called the JavaScript engine. Every major browser, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, you name it, has a special program built right in just for running JavaScript. This is the engine. You might hear their cool code names, like V8 for Google's engine or SpiderMonkey for Firefox. The fact that every single browser has one of these is a huge, huge reason JavaScript took over the world. It just works everywhere, for everyone. And these engines are wicked smart. In a split second, they do this little three-step dance. First, they read or parse the script. Then they translate that plain text into super fast machine code that your computer actually understands. And finally, they run it. And get this, they're constantly optimizing the code as it's running to make it even faster. It's pretty amazing stuff. Now, all that speed gives JavaScript a ton of power. But with great power comes, well, that power has to be controlled. When it's running inside your browser, JavaScript has a very clear set of rules for what it can do, and maybe more importantly, what it absolutely can't do. And you can really see that balance right here. On one hand, it can do all the things you need for a modern website: change the page content, react when you click or type, and talk to servers. But on the other hand, look at what it's blocked from doing. For your safety, it cannot just read files off your computer, it can't turn on your webcam secretly, and it definitely can't mess with your operating system. And that's the key takeaway. These limits aren't weaknesses. They're your bodyguards. They exist for one simple reason: to protect you. They make sure that some sketchy website you visit can't snoop through your private files or wreck your machine. One of the biggest security rules is something called the same origin policy. Just think of it like this. It means a script from one website is stuck in its own sandbox. It can't peek over the fence and see what's happening in your other browser tabs. So that news site you're reading can't just look into your open Gmail tab and start reading your emails. It's a simple idea, but it's absolutely fundamental to keeping the web safe. But here's the thing, the story doesn't stop in the browser. All those safety limits, they're really just for when JavaScript is running on a web page. Because in the last decade or so, JavaScript has broken out and expanded into this massive universe way beyond the web. Because of tools like Node.js, which is basically just a way to run JavaScript outside of a browser, the language can now power the servers behind websites where it is allowed to access files and networks. And that has unlocked everything. Now people use it to build mobile apps, desktop software. You can find it running on almost any device you can think of. This explosion in popularity led to something really fascinating. Because JavaScript is literally everywhere, a whole bunch of other new languages have popped up, and they don't try to replace JavaScript. Instead, they just get converted or transpiled into JavaScript before they actually run. And we're talking about heavy hitters here. You've got Microsoft, who built TypeScript to help manage huge, complex software projects. Google has Dart, which can build mobile apps. It just goes to show you how central JavaScript has become. Other languages are being built just to work with it. So after all that, the history, the engines, this massive expansion, what's the secret sauce? Why is JavaScript the undisputed king of the web? Well, when you boil it all down, it really comes down to three great things. First, it's the only language that has full, deep integration with HTML and CSS, the skeleton and the style of the web. Second, it's designed so that simple things are actually simple to do. And third, and this is the killer feature, it is supported by every single major browser, and it's turned on by default. No other technology can claim those three things. And that unique combination is what made JavaScript what it is today, the fundamental language of the web. It grew from a humble script into a global powerhouse. And really, the only question left to ask is, for how long will its reign continue?